Hi everybody, welcome to Autism Nude with today's episode, More Than a Label, where we explore rich, complex and often misunderstood experiences of girls and women on the autism spectrum. Today, I'm joined by an incredible Ceanlia, a mother, an educator, a neurodivergent woman and a passionate inclusion leader. Welcome Ceanlia, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Medea. It is such an honor to be here. And thank you for the invitation. You know, this conversation is going to be more than just professional. It's really going to be personal for me because I've lived it on so many different levels.
So let's start with you. Tell us a bit about yourself.
So I am a special education needs coordinator. And I am a Toastmaster. I was named one of the top 50 inspirational women of 2024. I've led inclusion departments in schools across the UAE and South Africa. I supported educators across the region. And I helped build safe, inclusive spaces for students. But more importantly, I am a mum and I'm autistic. I wasn't diagnosed until adulthood. After years of misdiagnosis, my daughter, she's also autistic, what we called previously Asperger's. And if it wasn't for COVID, none of us would have had these diagnoses because we just explored the world and the world became flat. So I speak from three perspectives: as a mother, as a neurodivergent woman, and as a special education needs coordinator.
Wow, that's great. Sounds like you're doing lots of amazing things, and I can't wait to sort of dig in deep to this topic with you. So if I may first ask, when did you first start noticing something different with your daughter?
From a very early age. She hated school. Well, she loved school and she hated it. And the reason she loved it is because she wanted to learn. The reason she hated it is because she was so bored. And she would spend hours sitting alone in her room, and the emotional outbursts, they were tantrums, but we didn't know it. But actually, they were not tantrums. They were not emotional outbursts. In reality, they were meltdowns, and we just didn't know. She was obsessed with dinosaurs. Yep, it's not only for boys. She had a dinosaur magazine that she received every Friday. And if we missed an episode, that was the end of her life. That was a total meltdown. And if only we knew then, but like we didn't. And because she was so bright and she's so verbal and she can make eye contact with you and she can have a full-on conversation about any topic, we didn't consider it. And it was just through very dramatic. People would say, like, she's oversensitive, she's too sensitive, she is too intense, she should relax, she's too, it was just a roller coaster of emotions up and down, let me put it that way.
Yeah, I think it's really important. You made a really important point there of sort of they weren't tantrums. One of the things that came from my PhD project was the importance of language and how we explain sort of autistic individuals' behaviour. And it's not tantrums, they're meltdowns, which means they're seeking some sensory input, they're struggling with something. So I really value that you made that sort of differentiation in the language there as well.
Absolutely, thank you.
So what kind of diagnosis did your daughter receive back then?
Oh my goodness, so many. At one point, I rushed her off to the ER. She was about 10 years old. I thought that she had a burst appendix. And she was in agony. And they did x-rays and everything, and they go like, oh, she's too tense. She should relax. And I go like, why is she tense? And they couldn't explain it. I go, how do I get her to relax? They couldn't tell me. So over the years, she was labeled with anxiety, with depression, when we moved to the UAE, she started high school, that, the physical symptoms became worse, and she got, I took her to a psychiatrist. Now, you must remember, I'm a SENDCO of a school. I've got my child with me in the school, and she's just not coping. It's just too much for her. And then she got, in 20 minutes, only took the psychiatrist 20 minutes to diagnose her with bipolar disorder. I was desperate at that stage for anything. Just I knew something was wrong, so I just accepted it. But luckily for me, one of her teachers, because I then met with the teachers as SENDCO and as mother. It was so weird. And one of the teachers looked at me and she goes like, Ceanlia, she's not bipolar. I had a student last year that was bipolar and your daughter doesn't come close. So she brought that boy's mother and me together and we discussed, bipolar. And she also said, So she gave me her son's doctor, a doctor there in Dubai. And I went to go and see him. And it was like, nope, she suffers from depression. And but that really stopped me in my tracks to stop listening to people outside of me.
So when did autism first come up as a possibility?
Whoa, we were still in South Africa where a friend of mine, her son is gifted, and her son and my daughter were like best friends. And one day we were just like observing the children, and she goes, "Don't you think she's autistic?" So we looked at all the symptoms, the normal symptoms of autism, and we dismissed it. Sadly, we dismissed it because she was articulate. She made eye contact. She could express her emotions in detail. She could explain to you how she was feeling, why she was feeling what she was feeling. So we just dismissed it as like, no way, she can't be autistic. But, we shook it off and we shouldn't have. When we moved to the UAE and it just continued, I started researching. And when during COVID, things were really bad, I found this list of female autism traits. And he described my daughter to the T. So I really feel that making contact with a lady, with a psychiatrist, was our breakthrough because she didn't diagnose my daughter in one setting. We had about 6 months of counseling online, and she was going through all the symptoms. It was a gradual process. So, yeah, it was a long road, 25 years.
Wow, okay. So that's sort of your daughter's, but how did your own diagnosis come about?
Oh, mine is layered. I was diagnosed with dyslexia back in 1995 when I was doing my special needs course. And in 2000, during therapy for my daughter after a very messy divorce, the psychologist asked me if I've ever been assessed. So it turns out that I'm gifted. So I had this very, very superior IQ. Not had, I still have it. And I think that is what brought me through life. So in 2008, I was diagnosed with ADHD. So you can think, a dyslexic, ADHD gifted little girl. But it wasn't until my daughter started seeing this psychiatrist, during COVID, that the penny dropped. And then, she goes like, Sana, it runs in families. So when I was growing up, there wasn't such a thing as dyslexia. You were just dumb. There wasn't ADHD. You were just hyper or talkative. I was very talkative. But when we met the psychiatrist during COVID, she goes like, Sana, you have all the traits yourself. And yep, that's where I am back in 2020. So here I am.
So you mentioned both you and your daughter are gifted. Could you explain a bit about that?
Giftedness it's a sensitive topic because so many people misunderstand what giftedness really means. And to illustrate it is that in the world, nobody can agree on a definition. So there are so many definitions. But in a nutshell, giftedness is when you have a very high IQ. So normal is between 90 and 110, and then gifted is between like 130 to 140. And then, superior is in the 150 plus category. And we both fall into that category. So IQ-wise, we have 150 plus IQ. Okay. So when you have a diagnosis like ADHD, dyslexia, or autism, plus you are gifted, it's called twice exceptional. It means that you are gifted, plus you have a disability. And in the medical terms or in the educational terms, we call it twice exceptional or 2 capital E, twice exceptional. So both of us, and I think a lot of girls on the spectrum is definitely. Now the challenge is that your strengths often hide your struggles. That's what happened with both of us. Imagine I am dyslexic, I can't spell properly, I have ADHD, I cannot concentrate, but I pass, and it's because of the giftedness. And the same with my daughter. We did not realize that she's autistic because she could cope. And so people assume that because we are coping, we are capable. But actually, we are suffering. But what we do from an early age, especially girls, is that we mask. Now, I didn't know about masking until we met the psychiatrist that did the autism diagnosis. And masking basically is when you are hiding, and it is exhausting because we are wearing a mask that I am fine, but I'm not fine. I'm suffering, but you can't see it. I don't know what's going on, but I'm hiding it. You have no idea. And I think this is why so many people, especially girls, are not getting diagnosed because of the masking, because we perfect how to communicate, how to interact. But physically, mentally, emotionally, it's exhausting. So masking it is hard because you pretend to be somebody who you're not. You pretend to be something that you're not. You cope socially, emotionally, but you rehearse these conversations. Now, I don't have it as bad, or maybe I'm just not aware of it. But with my daughter, definitely, when we have a social gathering, like family or friends get together, she sleeps for 2 days. She's totally exhausted. So it's very interesting if you look at an autistic person, and when they smile, the mouth smile, but the eyes doesn't. So it looks almost like this. It is a forced smile. And the psychiatrist, showed us the facial expressions just to recognize masking, because majority of girls, from teenage up, they don't even know that they are masking. So many girls, especially with those with autism at a very young age, learn to mask. They get so good at it that they don't know the difference. So it gets very undetected, and you need somebody really that's a specialist to be able to cut through the mask and to reveal the true self, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's really important to sort of share what masking actually is, and from your personal experience and your daughter's experience as well. What other sort of traits were overlooked in your daughter?
Oh, she was incredibly passionate. I mentioned the dinosaurs. You would think, okay, that's an autistic trait. But then she had interesting things. Let's take it, for example, when we lived in Dubai. She knew the metro more than the drivers did. She would know a road better than the drivers did. And we just thought, okay, it's because she's gifted or because she's smart, you know. But she knew how to hide her quirks. So when she's in a public conversation and she literally feels that, okay, the atmosphere has changed, people are a little bit awkward, then the camouflage star kicks in. And she will then mimic what other people are talking about, mimic their expressions, mimic their facial expressions, their body language. And but other traits is also that she had a very, and still has, a very strong sense of justice. So when somebody was blamed for something they didn't do, she would come up for them. She would actually go so far as fight. And, her friends or her peers will go like, oh, it's okay, don't worry. But she could not give up. She has an enormous sense of empathy, which is actually, it is good. Her EQ is very, very high. The negative part is she got bullied severely. And instead of being angry or upset or hurt by the bully, she had empathy for the bully. She felt sorry for the bully. So she gets hurt, and then she feels sorry for the person hurting her. And then she also, couldn't understand why people would lie and hurt other people. It really upset her a lot. But, she just didn't fit the male autistic stereotype because of all the other things. And therefore, she just slipped through the cracks, unfortunately.
And as a parent, what are you doing to ensure she doesn't slip through the cracks again, and your daughter's supported in places like school or social environments?
You know what? She's having psychotherapy sessions weekly. And it is one of the most difficult things to support her with, because she's in therapy now for 2.5 years. And I would say that I'm only starting to get it now. The therapist literally is teaching me how to recognize it. And he's making both of us talk about it. So in a situation like this, how did you feel? And he says, okay, what did your mum do? For example, I would ask her, she would feel overwhelmed. Like, let's say we're in a supermarket and she would go like, Mum, I feel overwhelmed. But she doesn't look it. She looks like you and me right now. We look relaxed. And it is like her words are saying something, but my eyes see a relaxed person. So I don't register. So we use keywords. She would go like meltdown, because that's the word that just brings me to my senses. And I go like, sorry, what did you say? And she goes like, I feel overwhelmed. I can't make a decision right now. And one of the things that we learned, for example, is that when she cannot make a decision, I will make the decision on her behalf. And then she just have to take it. Let's say we order food and she doesn't know what to order. She will hint at it and then I will order for her and she just has to eat whatever I ordered. But obviously I would try my best to help her. And that makes it difficult for me because I don't know what she wants. And I want to please her. So it's a process and we have not mastered it. But he, at the other hand, is teaching her how to recognize my ADHD traits. Like I have terrible time blindness. So it is not a one-way street, just me supporting her. It's like she's supporting me in return. So it works out nicely.
That's really nice. It's that reciprocal care as well. And
Yeah.
just sort of based on your experience as well, what do you wish more teachers knew about autistic girls?
Oh my goodness. The quiet ones doesn't mean it's okay. When you see a girl there in the corner and you think she's just daydreaming, she might be autistic. The girl that sits there and she has the perfect posture or facial expressions, she just looks like it. She's not really there. She's somewhere else. So the girl with those lovely books that want to please you, don't just tell them the work is nice. Ask them why they produce the type of work. When they get very high grades, it doesn't mean that they don't need support. They do. So when you have girls that are academically very strong but very quiet, please take care of them, interact with them, because the loud ones are always getting the attention. Masking is complex, and see if you can identify those girls who are masking. And by the way, there's boys that mask as well. It's not only a girl's trait, but it's much more girls than boys that do it. That girl that is oversensitive, that is coming up for others, that is getting bullied, that is somebody that you need to look into. Even if you just during break go and sit with them and have a chat. When they did a lovely essay, go and ask them to tell you about it. Where did the idea came from? When you have a little girl in your class that is just like perfect, okay, there isn't such a thing as perfect. That's a mask. Try to break through. And I can assure you, once you break through the mask, you will have an admirer for life. You have no idea what it cost. Oh, now I'm going to feel emotional. Teachers have no idea the emotional trauma that girls suppress and hold in. When my daughter, like from school, got home, she would sleep for 2.5 hours. She was exhausted. When a mother and you are having a parent-teacher conference and the mother tells you that the child is having emotional outburst, that's a sign. Because little girls will not tell you that they are upset. They internalize everything, and when they get home, this volcano just erupts. And the mother is usually the person that gets the brunt of it. When you have a child that's very smart, don't give them extra work, okay? Give them deeper work. Ask them what they would like to do, because that's the giftedness of it. A lot of gifted kids and our Asperger's or autistic girls that are very high functioning, they're smart, they're intelligent. Don't give them more work, give them deeper work. If you are doing photosynthesis and they know everything about it, ask them what they would like to learn. What is it that maybe that they would like to investigate? And those are my tips for the teachers. Go and have fun, enjoy those girls, but care for them, please.
Yeah. I guess it's also about that student profile as well, sort of, getting to know the student and the little girls and understanding their needs as well, so you can support them when needed, and sort of prevent sort of meltdowns if possible, to ensure like the environment and things like that are right for them, and
That's
speaking to
true.
them and getting to know them.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So,
I guess on the flip side now, what would your advice be to girls or women who may be discovering that they're autistic?
ladies, young girls, teenage girls, you are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. You are just wired differently. And this world needs to accept you and embrace you. But please know, you are perfect just the way you are. Do not change for anybody. Accept yourself for who you are. You don't need to shrink to be loved. Okay? Shine that bright light that you have. Speak your truth. Don't hide it. A lot of girls, they know the answer, but they don't want to tell it. They don't want to come across as I know everything or I speak a lot. Be who you are. Shine your light. Uh, but also protect your peace as you are protecting others because you really care so deeply about others. Care about yourself the same way and take up space in this world. You deserve it.
Thank you. And I guess sort of finishing thoughts. What's your hope for girls and women on the spectrum?
Oh, I wish that we can see it earlier. Now I can see autism in my daughter everywhere, and it was there all along. And I'm a special needs coordinator. You know, uh, so I really felt that I wish I could have seen it earlier, and I think that's my mission to make awareness for the world. Like, let's identify them earlier and let's celebrate their uniqueness. Let's not mold them or make them into who they're not. um, Autism is not a secret. It is not something bad. There's nothing wrong with you. I think it's very important that we must embrace it. I think that's one thing that we've learned from my daughter's psychotherapist is that to embrace it because you are unique the way you are. You are beautiful just the way that you are. And the way that you experience the world, it is phenomenal. And the world needs this. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ceanlia. Your story, your insight, and your experiences of your daughter, sharing things. I really hope it helps so many people. And we just need to continue raising the awareness, the acceptance, and sharing stories like this so people can understand autistic individuals. We're just different. And I really like the focus today on autistic girls and autistic women and discovering themselves. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Medina. You know what? There are 6 times more boys than girls that are autistic, but the numbers are horribly wrong because girls are not getting identified and diagnosed because the tools that are out there are for boys. And the psychiatrist that diagnosed my daughter, she's been working with this for the last 25 years. So there's a different tool for girls, and I think that's very important. But on that note, I just would like to say that even if there is just one listener today that heard this story and finally feels understood, that's why we are here. And I want to say to you, thank you so much for doing what you are doing. I think it is beautiful. I am so grateful that we have met at the summit, we stayed in contact, and that we are building this beautiful world for our neurodiverse population. So kudos to you and thank you.
Thank you so much. More than just a label isn't just a podcast title. I think it's a truth. And autism in girls and women doesn't always look the way that we're taught to expect it. And I think it's important that we talk about that more and open the conversation so people
Yeah.
who are exploring their diagnosis, exploring whether they're autistic, can be more open about it and seek the help that they need. So I think we need to stop searching for what's wrong with our daughters, with women, and even ourselves, and start recognising what's different and what's beautiful. And hopefully we can make it, as you said, a better world. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I think if we can just accept ourselves and stop thinking what's wrong with me and just accept all the things that's right with me, I think that this is beautiful. So let's start recognizing our differences. We are beautiful and we are worth celebrating. And to you and to the people out there, thank you very much for all the support and love.